Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is. I am going to do a video right now on how to graph a quadratic function from Vertex Form. So I'm going to first put my name on my paper. And today's date is 11/1. I don't know what day it is when you're watching this, but I'm going to put today's date. You put today's date for you, and there you go. So this page, I just made these notes to help my students when they watch this video. But if you don't have this page, you don't need it. This is just a piece of graph paper. I drew the axes on there to make it a little bit easier for my students for the graphing and some structure. But if you don't have that, then you can just make your axes and make a table. That's all you really need. So this skill is good for any kind of graph. It doesn't have to be a quadratic function. From Vertex Form, but that's what we're practicing, so that's what I'm going to show. But this skill of being able to do what we're going to do can be used for any function, doesn't matter what it is. But we're focusing on Vertex Form in this video. And so Vertex Form, we've done this a few different times now, is in the form of a parentheses x minus h squared plus k. So a few other videos I have, we've talked about the Vertex Form. And I wonder if you could see this better if I use this marker. Yeah, this shows up better. I would recommend that you still take your notes in pencil, but I want this to show up better. So in these problems, anytime you have the Vertex Form, this a value is really important. It really says two different things. It tells me if my parabola opens up or if it opens down. And this also tells me if it's going to be wider or if it's going to be narrower. So if there's a compression, it becomes wider, and if it's skinny, then it's a stretch. And so we have notes on specifically what a value does what, but that is what the a value does again. It's open up or open down, and is there a compression or is there a stretch? Then I have this part over here, my vertex, which is why it's called Vertex Form, is just h comma k. So whatever makes that 0, that's my h, and then that's my k, whatever this is. That's a minus, it's a negative k, but it's just whatever this is right here. And then whatever makes that become 0 is what you put for your h. So for this problem, the equation we're going to focus on is what we actually did on the last video that I just made. And it was on completing the square, and when we completed the square, we ended up with an equation that looked like x minus 5 squared minus 7. And so, sorry, I'm over being sick. So in this video, we're going to graph that. And so I know just by looking at this, a lot of information. I know my a value, there's nothing there, so I know that it's a 1, so that's a positive. So I know that it opens up like that. And if it's 1, then there's no stretch or compression. So no stretch, no compression. Oh, I can barely fit it on there. So no stretch, no compression. So it's just like x squared is. It's just going to have the vertex moved around. And this, I can tell that my vertex is h. What makes that become 0? Is the number 5. And if that is 0, then I have minus 7 to give me negative 7. So that's my vertex. So I'm going to graph my vertex first. So I haven't numbered anything here yet. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's where my 5 is. And then going down, I want negative 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's negative 5. That's negative 5, so negative 6, negative 7. So my vertex is 5, negative 7. So I'm going to go over to positive 5 on my x. My up and down is my y. So over to 5, down, there's negative 5, down here to negative 7. So this is my vertex right there, which is 5, comma, negative 7. So now my job is to get the next couple points, because I need to have my parabola. I know it opens up, so they're going to be over around this area. They're going to go up, and it'll go up like this. This line, it's helpful to draw this dotted line and on the quiz and tests I want to see that. That's your axis of symmetry. So I know that my axis of symmetry is the line of x equals 5. And I also, my lowest y value, my minimum, is going to be y equals -7. And that's going to come back for my range. So now I want to be able to know, well, where are these points over here? From here, what's my next point? How do I get to it? And there was a thing that I showed you in class. If you're in my class, now you can do a pattern, and it comes from our table when we were working in Module 1. But if you don't remember what that was, that's okay. And if you never knew what that was, then that's okay too. You don't need it. You just need to be able to substitute and simplify. So we know that's my vertex, which means that I have these points over here will be reflected over there. So my middle of my parabola is 5, 7. So I've made a table, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots. I want the middle here to be that 5, -7. So when x is 5, f of x was -7. And I want to find 2 points on either side. So that's 4, 3, going down, that's 6, 7. So I want to know what those numbers are. But they're reflected on from -7, or from 5. So whatever I get over here for 6 is going to be the same as it is for 4, because it's going to be on the other side of axis symmetry. And then whatever I get for 7 will be the same thing on the other side to be for 3. So I only do 2 problems to figure out what these values are, and then I'll be able to get it over there. So don't know what to do next. I'm going to plug in substitute in my x to my equation and see what I get for my f of x. So if I have my original equation, I'll write down again, x minus 5 squared minus 7. So f of 6, so when x is 6, then I have 6 minus 5 squared minus 7. And now order of operations, 6 minus 5 is 1, squared minus 7, square, so 1 square is just 1, minus 7 gives me -6. So when I have 6 as my x, I get out -6 for my f of x. So I'm going to go to my graph, and I have x is 6, and I'm going to go down to -6, and that's right there. And this axis of symmetry is my reflection, so this is 1 away from the axis of symmetry, so I'm going to go on the other side there. And so in my table, this -6 is the same thing as this up here. So when x is 4, then I get -6. And if you don't believe me, then try it. F of 4 gives me 4 minus 5 squared minus 7. And here's the reason why. 4 minus 5 is -1 squared minus 7. But -1 squared is also +1 minus 7. So I still have -6 as my final result. So because these are opposites inside the parentheses, but I'm squaring, that's why I get 1 minus 7 on both. So now I want to know, what is it for 7 or for 3? You can choose either one you want. I know I'm subtracting 5, so I want to just make my life easy with positives. So I'm going to go f of 7 equals 7 minus 5 squared minus 7, which equals 7 minus 5 is 2 squared minus 7. 2 squared is 4 minus 7. And 4 minus 7 is -3. So -3 is what I get out when I put in 7. And so therefore, it's also going to be what I have up here as -3. And so if I go back to my parabola, I'm going to go at 6. That was -3, so 1, 2, 3. And that's 2 spots away from my axis symmetry. So if I go 1, 2, there I am again. And if you wanted to do another one, then you could. If you wanted to figure out what it was for when x is 2 or when x is 8. You can, but you don't need to. There's a pattern, and if you see this pattern from the vertex, I'm going over 1, up 1, and over 1, up 3. And that pattern is the same, and that's what we learned in class, is because you have this, your first difference is going to be, if you look going down, this is adding 1, this is adding 3. The next one, I'm adding 5. So if I were to do negative 3 plus 5, then my pattern is going to go negative 3 plus 5 gives you positive 2. And so if I go from here, over 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm at positive 2, which is what I wanted. And again, on the other side, I can go over 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so now I just connect my dots nice and neat, as smoothly as possible. Whoops, my pencil went crazy. And I complete my parabola all the way through my graph. Doesn't stop there, it keeps going all the way up as far as I can. And so now this is my parabola. My vertex is 5, negative 7. I know what these points were. The pattern with quadratics, because a is 1, remember, if you do this plus 1, plus 3, plus 5 thing, then my second difference is plus 2 every time. And a divided by 2 is, or 2 divided by 1, 2 divided by 2 is 1, which is why my a value is 1. That's all module 1 stuff. If you're confused, don't worry about that. You can continue to plug in points and simplify forever to find all the points. But if you forget how to do that, or if you need to do that for any function, you can. You don't have to for quadratics. If you remember this, over 1, up 1, over 1, up 3, over 1, up 5. If this a is not 1, you have to multiply. And so I'm not going to do that in this video, but you would have to multiply whatever a is by whatever this is. So this would be 1 times your a, 3 times your a, and then this is 5 times your a, and then 7 times a, and so forth. So this is how you can graph your quadratic. If you forgot what that pattern was, that's okay. You don't have to know it. Any equation you have, you can just make a table, plug in numbers, and simplify to get your table. If you do this, I would like to see your math. So if you made mistakes, I can give you the credit that you deserve if you made mistakes. So I hope this helps remind you how you can graph any function, not just parabolas, but any function. Take your equation, make a table, substitute the values in, and simplify so you can see what you get out. All right, hopefully this helps you, and I will see you when I see you. If I don't see you, I hope this helps. If you are watching this and you're not one of my students, can you please leave comments so I know that you're watching, and let me know what else you want videos of, especially if you're watching for Math 2. If there's a place where you're getting stuck, my students or any other students, what do you want to see videos of? All right, I'm going to flip this over. And so you can go to my comments. Please be respectful of the comments. I am a teacher. I don't get paid extra for making these videos. And I am doing these for students to learn. I would like to know what videos or what skills do you want videos on, especially if you're not my student. But even my students, what are you having a hard time on that you want videos for? It takes time to make them. That's why you don't get them all the time, but I'd like to be able to help you. So give me a comment. You can also, the easiest way there is to give me a comment on there, and then I can contact you through that. Please also subscribe to my channel just so I know who's watching. All right, have a good day.